Hello and welcome to Trojan Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. With today is Marc Davis, head coach of the indoor track and field program here at Troy University, director of the program, here to talk a little about the indoor season starting up here. Thank you for joining us here today.
No problem, thank you.
And the indoor season, one of the things that's a spring sport, the first of the spring sports to kind of get things kicked off here at Troy. And in the world of COVID, there's a lot going on, and we'll talk a little about COVID protocol stuff later, but got to go back to last season because you all were the only spring sport to be able to do a complete season last year through the indoor season before everything shut down. Obviously, that kind of changed some things up, but how is it that the program to be able to be the only one that was able to actually get something done last year?
Yeah, I mean, we got very, very lucky being able to get through it. Obviously, it was early in the COVID spotting across the country, and you know, we were able to stay healthy the whole time, and luckily, and then, you know, everything hit in March once we were done. You know, we had that, I think it was the last week in February, we had our championship meet, and we were looking forward to a great outdoor season, and we just didn't get a chance to do it. Yeah.
And talk about the end of that season, obviously coming into a season where you had the most successful finish for an indoor program here at Troy in that conference tournament, being able to finish how you did. Expectations from last year moving into this year?
I think the expectations are still high. You just don't know with COVID. You know, you may have somebody this week and not have them next week, and that's the thing. Or not next week, 2, 3, 4 weeks down the road. So you just have to play it as it comes. But you know, the expectations from last year with the women on the indoors finishing second. I mean, we have a big team. We took 18 kids to the championship meet and finished second. So people stepped up, did some things that, you know, maybe they didn't think they could do. When we recruit kids, we have an expectation that you're going to come in and perform. And everybody that we took really did come back and perform. And we won some events we shouldn't have won. We placed really high in some events that I didn't expect we were going to place as high in. So some things happened in our favor. We had a lot of things go wrong that day too. So I just think that we have a special group of kids that can get things done, you know, under adversity, and they can perform when pressure is on.
Now, talk about the fact that the indoor season got to complete, but the outdoor season did not.
Right.
And so what impact, because the same athletes are participating both, what impact does not being able to run that outdoor season have on preparations for the indoor season this year?
Well, I mean, just from indoors, people were running really well. The women's side, people were starting around in the shape. We had some very good performances and very big expectations going outside on the men's and women's side. Outdoors for the men, you know, we had some people that were competing indoors. We didn't compete as many men as we usually do. But then when we got outdoors, we knew that was our big season. I mean, I think that we had a legitimate shot at contending for championships on both sides if we had just had everything going right at the right time. But it didn't happen. So now we're in a situation where we were off 6 months. Some kids went home and they couldn't train. They couldn't do anything. You couldn't go outside, just like here. You know, any international students that we had, some of them couldn't go out of their house. Nobody could go to a gym. Nobody could do anything. So the rhythm was you know, stunted. We couldn't do a lot of the things that we needed to do. So when we started in September, it was a different feel than normal. Some people were able to work out a lot over the summer. Some people weren't able to work out at all over the summer. So we've rounded into some good shape. I've seen some good things. We had an inter-squad meet right before Christmas break. Things went really, really well. You know, some people over break got COVID, you know, and were set back. So some of those kids that did very, very well, they're not able to compete right now, or they had to quarantine over break and they lost a little bit of fitness. It's going to be a year of experimentation, but you know, talking to other coaches across the league, across the country, they're all going through the same thing.
And of course, we're talking about the schedule, getting into the schedule, because obviously there's not an indoor facility at Troy, so there's no home field advantage. But when you look at the schedule, you're at the same facility every weekend, so it's kind of, you know the facility. It's almost like a home facility for you all when you're going up to the Birmingham Sportsplex.
Right. I think the big thing for us is just being able to get back into it. You know, there's some kids that are going to be afraid to compete for the first time in 10 months. I mean, it's natural. But I think there's a general feeling of excitement for the people that are on that roster that are about to go and compete on Friday. I know I'm excited. I know the coaching staff is excited. You know, you talk to the kids, they're talking about expectations again, and that's what you want to hear. When we first came back, it was talking of fear all the time. And I can't lie. I mean, I was afraid of getting it just like everybody else. But the fact of the matter is, you know, we're in this situation. You got to make the best of a bad situation and try to perform as best we can.
What about the familiarity, being able to compete at the Birmingham facility every week and know
Right.
the lay of the land. Is that a benefit? Because obviously your competitors are probably not in that same situation where you're going to, I mean, there could be some similar ones, but
Right.
you'll be uniformly at that one location.
This year will be a little bit different because I think a lot of people the Birmingham Crossplex is one of the few places that they're having meets period indoors. So there's going to be, we'll see the same faces over and over again. We'll see a lot of conference faces over and over again this year, which is different because, sometimes we see some, but I think we're going to see a large number of our conference competitors. You're going to have some teams from the north come down that are still having indoor track because a lot of the northern schools aren't allowing them to participate. So it's going to be very familiar, but it's going to be a little different at the same time. But the monotony of it is what really gets to the athletes. And as I was saying before, we used to go to North Carolina indoors just to break that up right before we go into the championship meet. We're not going to get a chance to do that, but at the end of the day, it's about getting into a routine and getting into rhythm, and we're surely going to do that this year for sure.
Well, here's hoping that you improve on last year's performance in the conference championships and get to that first place finish this year. I want to thank you for joining us here today, and good luck on the season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you for joining us on today's edition of Trojan Talk.